let's go through some basic terminology here for various types of ropes and rigging. There seems to be, and it's kind of become an internet joke, about certain terms that I use. So here's where these come from. Any teams that I've been on, I've got a over 30-year history in show skiing, and up until very recently, certain terms were used by every team I'm on. And I'm sticking to those terms, kind of because they're by dictionary definition. If your team calls it something else, that's fine. But I want some common terminology for the rest of these videos so you understand what I'm talking about. So let's jump through some basics real quick. What you're seeing here, this is a boat harness. Now, this one was made for a special purpose and is overkill for just about every team out there. This is insane how much this will tow, but a boat harness, this could be the V harness coming off of a triple rig, or it could be the single thick line coming in between the engines of a twin rig. And that's where you would hook up your ski ropes, your trunks, your leaders, depending on what you're pulling. I will throw up a picture of one, what a more realistic boat harness looks like, but again, a very heavy-duty plasma line. Typically, you could use AM steel, but typically it's a plasma or purple plasma line for a boat harness. The next one, trunks or trunk lines, is a line where you take many ski ropes, you merge many ski ropes with the help of a carabiner down into a single line. Now, these vary a lot, and a lot of teams call these leaders, and I don't know why, to be perfectly honest, because that is a recent term. Any team I've been on, they're called trunk lines. And these can be a bunch of different materials. Typically, they are synthetic, the modern ones, the ones you should use, and they could be plasma. This is purple plasma, although interestingly enough, it's called purple plasma, but it doesn't have to be purple. All right, so plasma, they could be AM steel. AM steel blue is the typical term, but again, AM steel blue is a brand name, and it doesn't have to be blue. These happen to be thinner ones. These are 1/4 inch, but these are trunks, and they can be various lengths, probably at the shortest about 10 feet, but these things can go upwards of, for big ballet lines and big pyramids, 60 to 80 feet long. For the record stuff that we do, we're talking 200 feet long. So these are trunk lines or trunks when we're talking about this throughout the rest of the videos. So then, for some of you watching, you're probably wondering, well, what are leaders? Well, leaders or leader lines are typically really short, like this. They vary. They could be 2 feet long. They could be 5 feet long. They could be 7 feet long. But leaders are typically placed at the end of a main line on a ski rope to create staggers in various acts. So if you're going to have, say, a swivel line, and you're going to stagger it, and you would have, one person with a regular rope, 75-foot long swivel rope, and then maybe you put a 3-foot leader on the next one, and the next one over gets a 6-foot leader, and then you're just doing a short 3-foot stagger on each one. Leaders can be made out of different materials. I do advise typically making these out of AM steel would be good, synthetic, for those, especially if you are going to be merging multiple people onto one leader to create staggers. Examples of this might, say, be trios, where you have a couple trios that are in one line, and then you have a second set further back, and there's a lot of weight on there, so you might want to use synthetic like AM steel for that. If you're just doing a single skier or maybe just a doubles couple, then you can probably get away making leaders out of poly E rope, which is cheaper. All right, moving on. A couple more to go through. A twink, and again, a term that sometimes when I go to teams, they have no idea what I'm talking about, but on the teams I've been on, they've always been called twinks. A 12 to maybe 18-inch loop. And these two can be made out of poly E, or they can be made out of AM steel. What is the purpose for this? These are for hot pickups. So for hot picks, most times for jump acts, where you have some jumpers and you're coming around and you're hot picking additional jumpers, or you are hot picking a pre-built pyramid or something like that. You need something that maintains its shape as you're doing the pass off, and it maintains an open loop. And that's why you use something like this. And so if I was doing a handoff manually, like close by the dock, you know, I could hold this right here and it stays open like this. It doesn't collapse. And now it's easy for that, you know, safety person or the rider in the boat to grab this and either get it over the pylon or slap a carabiner on this, whatever needs to be done to hot pick that. So this is a Twink. Other ones, pretty basic, most people should know, a Mainline. So a Mainline is the main long part of an individual ski rope, typically made out of poly E or show ski tack, something like that. And for most teams, a lot of teams have really standard on the 75-foot length ski rope for a lot of stuff. And so the main lines would be 70 feet. All right, so main lines are usually 70 feet. Doesn't mean they have to be. A lot of teams run longer barefoot ropes. A lot of doubles and pyramid ropes are shorter than that. It really just depends on what your team is doing, but 75 feet is pretty good. So you have main lines with loops on each end at 70 feet, so you can hook up various types of handle sections or braids to one end. And then that moves us on to a handle section. So a handle section is almost universally 5 feet long. Doesn't matter if you're making 65-foot length ropes, 100-foot length ropes, whatever you're doing, going real short to 50, you typically make all of your handles 5 feet long. That's kind of the standard with a loop on the end, so they can be looped onto some length of main line. Same would go for braids as well, but braids vary a lot in length depending on what they're needed for. But a regular handle, something like this, even if this was a standard 12-inch handle just for skiing, I would make this into a 5-foot section. There's some basic terms that you need to know for the rest of the videos.